Being bilingual is a valuable asset, both personally and professionally. These three young adults are going to discuss their struggles and successes in being bilingual. Welcome, Jaylene Murillo, Emily Medina, and Sanja Thakur. Today, our moderator is Kathleen Fernandez, and I'm the executive director of NJTESOL-NJBE and a retired ESL teacher. So, welcome, ladies. Thank you for joining us today. Let's start with Emily. Emily, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, hi, my name is Emily Medina. I'm 16 years old and I attend Biotechnology High School in Freehold. So both of my parents are from Argentina and and they taught me Spanish, which is just like an amazing asset to my daily life and everything.
Jaylene?
Hi, my name is Jaylene. I'm 24 years old. I I got my seal of I received my seal of biliteracy in 2019. I took Spanish classes from middle school all the way through college. And now in the job that I have currently, I'm constantly using both English and Spanish.
And Sanjana?
Hi, I'm Sanjana. I'm 16 years old and I also attend Biotechnology High School in Freehold. I both my parents are from India and I have been taught like Hindi since I was like born, and I actually lived in India for almost 5 years, so I have like a lot of like experience and being like surrounded by Hindi like almost my entire life.
Great. And actually, Sanjana, how old were you when you were living in India?
I would like from around like 1 to 6 years old. Like so it really shaped my like childhood, I would say.
Great. All right. Interesting. Okay, so let's start with how being bilingual has helped you in school or your daily life, or has it?
I think I can start. Being bilingual, I guess with my daily life, especially right now, I work directly with multilingual learners in a middle school, and a lot of my students, they come from different countries. They come from different countries in Latin America. We have a very high population of I guess, yeah, immigrant students. So being bilingual has helped me connect with them. I think one of the greatest things is like when the students they need an adult to talk to, right? So they seek somebody who speaks their language, who they can connect with, and hey, I need help with something, and it's very rewarding, and it's just so nice to be that person that they can go to and connect to when they're in an environment that they're not so familiar with the English language.
And what is your role in the middle school?
So my role is bilingual support teacher. So I push into their content classrooms. I'm specifically assigned to math. So in the math classroom, there I am helping them, just like bridge the language instruction. Yeah.
Good. Now that's wonderful. Thank you. Emily, how about you?
I think being bilingual definitely helps a lot in my daily life, whether it be like communicating with people who don't speak the greatest of English or because language barrier is a big issue, especially today. And being able to just communicate with them and bridge that gap of the language barrier, like Jaylene said, is incredibly rewarding. And not only that, I think that knowing a different language really like expands your cognitive ability and makes like reading comprehension a lot easier. Like even because having to switch between those two languages, um, it takes like a lot of cognitive ability to be able to do that. So I think that that definitely has helped me in my school life.
Yeah, there's definitely research that supports that. The bilingual people actually do better on standardized tests than monolingual people. Sanjana, how has it helped you?
So being bilingual like has helped me many ways in school and every day. In school, like I do realize how different languages work and speaking like two languages might be like difficult, but also learning new types of vocabulary. So this also helps me in like Spanish class and all that stuff. And like outside of school, like for example, like if I have family members that visit, it I would be able to like translate for them well, and it like I could also help them like explain information, and it makes me feel more confident and responsible. And yeah.
That's great. That actually leads into my next question, which is, can you share a time when speaking two languages made you feel proud or confident?
I can start again.
Okay.
Um, so I don't know, every time I think of that question or I hear that question, I get this memory of like when I think I was maybe in middle school. My aunt was visiting from Puerto Rico, and so she had to go to the pharmacy and pick up her meds. And she was like, "Can you come with me? I just need help, like speaking to the pharmacist." And at that time, I was like, "Me, like little me, like what am I? Like I'll go help you." But then like the way it was just like I was successfully able to help her. I think that was like a moment that stuck with me, like into adulthood. Like wow, like knowing two languages and being able to communicate. You can really just like help people and help more people. And I think that's something that stuck with me. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is a superpower, right? That was the theme from the federal Department of Education regarding bilingualism a couple of years ago, and it really does, you know, make life easier and just better. Emily, how about you?
Yeah, so I think there's like a thousand moments that I could talk about because it really makes me so proud just being able to speak Spanish and connect with people. But on the weekends, I work at my tennis club as like a receptionist, so I'm always talking to people and always helping people. So one day, this young man came in and I could tell he seemed very shy and nervous, and he spoke kind of broken English. And immediately I kind of recognized, I was like, I think he speaks Spanish. So I started speaking to him in Spanish, and I saw like immediately how his entire demeanor changed and how much more comfortable he got. And by that I was able to help him out. And that's just something I always think about because even when I'm talking to people who can speak good English, being able to speak their language, being able to speak Spanish just makes someone so much more comfortable with you, and it gives you something that you're able to connect through, and it just builds a more personal and genuine connection with these people, and it really yeah, it really just connects you, and that's just something that I love that I'm able to do by speaking Spanish.
That's great. Yeah, and I can see like it just shines through you, like how great that is for you to do that. That's wonderful. Sanjana?
So like I said before, me helping my family members like understand how like life works here and me translating different things, it makes me feel like supportive, and I feel like very trusted. And also another time where it makes me feel like really proud of myself is like when I visit India, and a lot of people assume that like, oh, she probably doesn't speak Hindi that well, she grew up here. And then I visit there and I can actually speak pretty fluently. And everyone's like shocked, and it makes me feel proud because I've been like, yeah, I've been raised here my entire life, yet I still can speak it well.
Hmm. Can you also read Hindi and write it?
I used to be able to, but
Okay,
I think like kind of stopped, so I forgot almost.
that's fine. That's fine. Because I mean, it really is difficult. I think that's the most difficult part is maintaining that literacy aspect when you're not, um, when that literature is not necessarily readily available to you. So we talked about that with the parents group, and a lot of them traveled to get materials in the native language, which because it's difficult to find in the United States. All right. So that was when you were proud. My next question is, were there difficulties that you experienced as a bilingual person growing up in school or in your community or even with your family?
I would say yes. I think a bunch of difficulties come to mind after you said that. One of them was I think it was a challenge was trying to find a space where I could come uh, c consistently, I guess, practice like the reading and the writing of it. I kind of just made like this promise to myself that I was never gonna stop studying my second, well, yeah, Spanish, so my second language. Um, I told myself that if classes were offered, I was gonna take them, and it didn't matter if there was like another elective in high school or in college, like I was gonna make it a priority. I think another challenge was probably in the beginning when I first had the courage to like say, hey, I told my mom like I want to learn Spanish, like I want to practice my Spanish. So I was really young. I was still in elementary school. And those little moments where I would like try in the beginning, I had like extended family members who would like make fun of me. So that would kind of like draw me back and be like, I don't know if I want to. Because my uncle or somebody would laugh the way I said something. Um, or my grandma would be like, "Oh my gosh, like did you hear the way she said that?" and like laugh at it. So it made me want to go more into like a shell and kind of be like, "You know what? I'm just only going to speak English." Because that was the language that, I'm proficient or more fluent in. But I'm really proud that I didn't, I guess, stay in that shell. And I've worked really hard to get to a point where sometimes I even have family members asking me, like, "Oh, can you check this? Is this correct?" And I'm like, "Oh, look who's asking me." But it's yeah, it's definitely challenging when you're constantly, I don't know, there's like when you're growing up in a space where English is the dominant language, I feel like there's a lot of complexities and it is challenging.
How about you, Emily?
Okay, so I actually grew up speaking only Spanish. Spanish was my first language. And I learned English in like preschool. So that was challenging in itself, having to go to school and learn like the language all by myself and everything. So I can just remember times like I would have a word in Spanish in my brain and I couldn't think about how to say it in English. So that was like more of a minor challenge, but something that I experienced a lot during elementary school was so since I learned Spanish first, I had like a thicker accent when I spoke English, and the kids would make fun of me and they'd tell me, "Oh, you have a British accent," not because it sounded British, but just because they couldn't recognize any other accent other than British. But so they would tell me, "Oh, you have an accent, like you have an accent," and I mean, it was a little hurtful because I was trying so hard to like speak English, and I thought that I spoke English very well. But like I was able to move past that and see that like knowing two languages is a superpower, regardless of like any accent I might have. Because I could speak two languages and they couldn't. So, yeah.
Great. Sanjana, how about you?
So I was gonna say like almost the same thing. Since I like did grow up in India from like, and I came here when I was 6 years old. When I came here, like I did have like a pretty strong Indian accent, and like I didn't know English that well. So elementary school was kind of rough, especially like first and second grade, because my English wasn't very good again, and like the kids would make fun of me. But as time went on, I did like learn how to have that smooth transition between like only knowing Hindi and like knowing Hindi and English, what really helped me and really helps me now because I can still connect with many family members, my parents, everything. And also another time is like since I like grew up here most of my life now, my Hindi is starting to get a little broken. So there's times when I forget words when I speak, and it feels awkward when like talking to family members because they're like, "Oh, like she's forgetting Hindi. What's happening? Like, what? Come back!" Like, So yeah, it makes me feel like a little embarrassed, especially like in those first grade moments and in current moments, but I've learned to persevere.
which is great. But actually leads me to my next question. How does knowing these two languages help you connect with your family or your culture, and the larger community? Actually, why don't we start with Sanjana because she just talked about that. I know there's a very large Indian population in the Central Jersey area where you are, and in fact, the home economics teacher at my middle school um, is involved in that very large Hindi temple in Robbinsville. I don't know if you're familiar with it. She volunteers there. So, does your knowledge of Hindi help you in your community or with your relations with your family, besides just helping them uh, live in the United States?
So yeah, definitely, I would say. So again, the Indian population in like central New Jersey is like very big. So there's like many temples, many Indian restaurants, all these like different places. And although like a lot of people do understand English, whenever I go to like temples and all that stuff, like it obviously like it makes it easier for me to speak Hindi and it helps me connect with people. And especially a lot of my friends are Indian too. So I feel like being Indian and like speaking Hindi really like built a community for me and like built like a friend group automatically, I would say, because we all connected in that way, like we all speak Hindi. Also, in middle school and elementary school, I did like Hindi camp, which would like take place like at my middle school during the summertime. So that helped me make a lot of friends and that helped me like become stronger in my language.
That's wonderful. Emily?
Okay, so not only does speaking Spanish help me connect with like my family because all of my family except for my parents and my sister, everybody in my family lives in Argentina. So being able to speak Spanish is obviously like a huge part of communicating with them and getting to visit them all the time in the summer and just making sure that I still have that close relationship with my family even though they are distant, being able to communicate with them in Spanish. But then, as for my community, I think being able to speak Spanish, even with people who aren't from Argentina, just immediately creates like a bond between you two. And it really puts you in like a Spanish speaking community because I think so here obviously we have a lot of Spanish speakers, but they're all from different parts of the world, whether it be like Ecuador or Mexico, but you're just connected through that bond of the language and it gives you like this stronger sense of identity knowing that you fit into this big group of people who speak Spanish, who follow similar cultures and traditions to you. Um, so yeah.
Jaylene?
Yeah, definitely. Speaking both languages has helped me. I guess I think I used to think of it as like not belonging to one community, but I started to think of it. Somebody changed my perspective at one point, and they were like, actually, you belong to two communities. Like you belong to more than one community. Like I, so when I started to like really speak Spanish well and be able to communicate more with my family in Puerto Rico, when I would go visit them, now I could actually build a relationship with them. It wasn't like I was going to visit my family and I was just like sitting quietly, awkwardly in my aunt's living room and it's just like a hi and bye. I think speaking the language helps me build connection and relationships with them. And then as the years went by, fast forward, when I studied abroad, I decided, hey, I'm going to go to Puerto Rico and I'm going to spend 6 months there and just immerse myself. I have family there. Now let me also build my own community and make friends there. Um, so I was able to do that. And in that, I met different people from, there was also other students who decided to study abroad and go to practice their Spanish as well over there. And it was my roommate who she's actually, she's from Alabama and she's learning Spanish. And she told me when I was expressing to her how I felt about not feeling like I'm here, but people from here are like, oh, but you're the allá afuera, you're from out there, like you're not really here. She was like, no, she was like, look at how many people you're able to talk to. Like, you can speak to the natives here, and you're able to speak to me and the other exchange students and build relationships with all of us. So I think when she told me that, it really changed my perspective. And I was like, you know what? You're right. Like, I'm able to access multiple pools of community. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And, I think people in the United States try think about themselves in like one community without opening themselves to the possibility of participating in other communities. And language is certainly one way to share in different communities. That was a great point that you made. Uh, what advice would you give to younger people who are trying to either learn a second language or become biliterate? Why don't we start with Emily this time?
Yeah, definitely. So, obviously, learning a new language is very hard. However, I do think that it's a lot easier when you're younger. It's easier for you to pick up languages. I'm sure there's been studies on that. But I would tell the younger students that even if they're frustrated, it's okay because it's natural for learning that new language. Everyone's going to get a little frustrated sometimes because I don't think learning a language is exactly linear because there are moments when you'll feel like you're on top of the world. You can speak whatever language you're learning so well, but then there's moments when you might start to doubt yourself and have a harder time. But they're both like extremely important and they both move you to become better at the language. Even your what you believe are failures are just important parts of success, and I think that applies to a lot of different things as well. But I they just have to be patient with themselves and allow themselves to continue to grow and just push through because learning a language is something that's so incredibly useful in your daily life. And like eventually they'll get there because learning a language, so this is a quote that I really like, that learning a language is a journey, not a race. So even if it takes a while, it's all worth it in the end.
Yes, I think you're 100% true. And even if you stop that journey, you can always start it again. You guys are inspiring me to like really do more with the Spanish that I still have. It's a little bit embarrassing for myself, but I think, Emily saying that, encourages me even at my advanced stage to try again. All right. Sanjana, what do you think? What advice would you give?
So, like, my advice to like younger students learning a new language would be like is not to give up, whether it feels hard or frustrating. Like personally, I learned like Spanish in high school and in middle school, and there are definitely times for me where like I don't understand or it is like a little bit hard, but I also realized that like learning a new language, like everyone there was also learning Spanish, like not just me, and it's normal to make like mistakes along the way and like not be like super confident in what you're saying and like but I also realized every mistake is like a new chance to learn. Personally, if I don't understand like a topic in Spanish that well, I like go home and practice it. And so practicing a little day, like every day is a little like will help you improve a little bit, whether it's just like reading or writing. And it can make like a big difference over time. When I first started learning Spanish in like sixth grade compared to how much I know now is such like a huge improvement because it's been so long, yet I like have done so much more. And so like I think younger people need to realize that like being bilingual is like a strength and like the effort you put will pay off. So like not to give up.
Great, great advice. Jaylene?
That was really good advice. I agree with not giving up. One of the things my students that I work with now, I see them when they're frustrated, when they're learning English. And I tell them all the time, like there's times where I feel like a lot of times a big challenge, right? Sometimes a big challenge is when you're speaking it to another person who's fluent in the other language that you're trying to learn. So I think sometimes it can be a little bit intimidating. And maybe you get frustrated because you're not producing what you want to produce, or you're scared. I always tell my students, keep doing it even when you're uncomfortable, even when you're frustrated. Keep exposing like yourself to the language and keep trying. Um, because the more you do it, the easier it gets. And the less you do it, the less easier. It's not going to get easier if you don't keep trying. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, do you see me? Like, I'm speaking Spanish to you guys like all day. And I was like, there was a point where I would not do this at all. Like, I would never have done this. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'll tell them, I'm like, my first language is English. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yes, like exactly how you guys feel speaking English in front of the class is how sometimes deep inside me is how I feel when I'm doing my job and I'm explaining to you guys like something in Spanish. And they're like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, I feel you. I know what you're going through. And I tell them like, it's gonna be okay. Like you just have to keep putting yourself out there to really try. Yeah.
Yeah, because it is frightening. You just made me remember I had gone to Spain taking a course, and I had dinner at the family of one of my ESL students in Madrid. And the father was like, oh, she's here to practice Spanish. So we are only speaking in Spanish. And like, my heart just stopped because, here I am with their family and my Spanish is not great. But again, you're right. You have to push through and really keep going to get better and to become fluent. That's wonderful. Now, I'm going to ask you a personal question that I had not on my list, but came up when during the parent panel, and I just thought, that I would ask you. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but do you think that you will raise your own child to be bilingual? Does anybody want to answer it?
Yeah, I'd love to go. So I think 100% that I'm definitely raising my own child to be bilingual, whether I marry someone who is bilingual or not, because I think it is so incredibly important to know two languages if you have the opportunity. Because honestly, it makes me a little sad seeing like my friends who have parents who both speak different languages and they don't know that language and they aren't really able to communicate with like their grandparents or their cousins. I think it's so important to be able to stay close to your family. Your like not your immediate family, but the family who might even still live in the place where your parents like immigrated from. And not only that, but also staying connected to your culture. So I think it's incredibly important to learn Spanish, or not necessarily Spanish, but another language. I think it's so important, and that's something, if I have a child, I would like to do the same thing that my parents did and have them learn Spanish first and then later on learn English, because I really do think it's so important and it has opened so many doors and so many opportunities for me throughout my life.
Thank you. Either of you other two ladies would like to answer?
Yes. So, I've thought about this, and it was very interesting when I was listening in onto the parents panel. I decided to join it earlier to hear like the other side, the other perspective. Um, and I definitely also want to raise my kids to speak more than one language. I would like for them to speak Spanish and English, and if they want to add on to that, yes, of course. I have actually thought about possibly even, since in the US it's very monolingual, like I like to travel, so I wouldn't have minded like moving somewhere else for like the early stages of their life, to really have them like immerse themselves in a different environment where the dominant language is Spanish, whether that be Puerto Rico or Spain or somewhere else where, we could get that base. And then I can speak English with them at home, but in where we are, like you're gonna speak Spanish with your classmates and with your teachers, and then eventually I would probably come back here and then probably speak Spanish at home and English would be, in the class. But I also agree. I think it's important, especially when it comes to culture, right? Culture and language, they go together. Um, just like what the parents were saying earlier, they go together and yeah, I just think it's very important to maintain both and to have that like I guess lineage, like have that like tie to our history and to our culture. Yeah.
Sanjana?
So I agree. Like I would definitely raise my kids to be bilingual. So obviously, like one of the biggest factors is cultural connection. They can connect with like their like family or like heritage and communicate with like relatives who don't speak English. And like I feel like my kids knowing this would give them like the same proud feeling I have when people like talk to me or ask me about my like culture and identity. And also, like, it is proven that kids that are bilingual have better like cognitive benefits. Like, no, like being bilingual like helps with problem solving, and later on, it would be easier to learn new languages since they already know how learning two works. And also, it would be like better for like career and life opportunities because a lot of jobs and like colleges and schools would like love bilingual kids and would consider that like a big benefit. And like it also gives like social benefits. Like as I said before, like knowing Hindi and like my culture has helped me build like a big group and like a connection with other people who are like me.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Aphrodite, do you have any questions for the panel?
Um, I think one, I wanted to first let me just say I'm so impressed with you, young ladies. And as each of you is speaking, I could map out a point in my life where that journey fluctuated back and forth between all of the challenges and the positives. Um, I'm Greek. I learned Greek first. I went into school and learned English in kindergarten, but listening to the challenges, but also all of the positives that came with it tells like listening to your stories, I could say same thing. Um, it's a connection that we all share when we're talking about language and we're talking about where we're from. So I just appreciate you being here and sharing that. And it just kind of affirmed with just like Kathy said, like my dominant language right now in literacy is now English. However, I speak in Greek fluently, but my reading and writing doesn't keep up because I'm not as actively doing that. So um, it leads me to my question. To stay uh, biliterate, it is challenging, right? To be completely, not just being able to speak and communicate. Um, what motivates you, ladies, or what do you think would motivate you to stay actively literate in your native languages, not just in speaking, but in the reading and writing part? And I know it, even right now, maybe for one of you or some of you, like it is a little different. So what helps? What would help? What do you see being a challenge, or where do you pull the motivation to stay on top of that? It's a tough
I
question.
can go. I can go.
Okay, go ahead.
So I actually learned how to read and write Hindi after I came to America. When I was about like 8 or 9 years old, and my grandma actually taught it to me. She spent like after I came back from school, she spent like many hours with me, like sitting and like reading books. First, I learned like all the alphabets separately, and like Hindi is like very different because there's like I wouldn't say I remember it that much now, but there's like many different accents, and it was like a very struggle because like I feel it's not like English like at all. And so if I wanted to like try and learn it again, I would definitely ask my grandma, but also I would start by learning like the letters separately. I would start by trying to read more books, and definitely like maybe watching more like Hindi movies because I could like learn the way like everything is said because I might not say that well now since I'm in more of like I'm in America. And yeah, like reading and writing. Yeah.
Thank you.
I feel like what motivated me back then was sort of this is gonna sound maybe a little bit crazy, but like this identity crisis that I was having of like I come from a family that speaks Spanish. I'm Puerto Rican, like people see me and they know I'm Puerto Rican, but then I can't produce the language of like my home kind of thing. So it's kind of like I was having this crisis of like, well, could I really even be from there if like I don't speak the language? Like, can I even claim that heritage or identity type of thing? So I kind of told myself like, no, like I have to, like I have to like no matter what, I have to keep the language, whatever by any means necessary, type of thing. And then now as an adult, like after like finishing school and everything. I think now it's more so mm, for my future plans, right? If I do want to move back to Puerto Rico or something like that, I'm gonna have to know the language. I'm gonna have to be able to be fluent writing or reading in the language as well if I want to one day work there as so I think that's kind of been my drive right now. Um yeah, that was a really good question. I'm probably gonna think about it more later today.
You guys are making me think about it a lot more.
No, me too.
The age that I'm at. Um, so I just, yeah, thank you.
Think. Emily, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. So I think that my motivation for knowing, for like continuing to be literate in Spanish, in like reading and writing and also speaking, is my family back in Argentina. Because I believe Sanjana mentioned this in a previous question. Like I go to Argentina and a lot of people don't expect me to be able to speak English, or not English, I'm sorry, to be able to speak Spanish or be able to write as well as they can, which is probably true to some extent. But it is embarrassing when like I can't think of a word in Spanish and they they might just think I don't know what they're thinking, but it gets me thinking, and I don't want to be like embarrassed. I want to be able to communicate with my family, and not only with my family but also be able to communicate with the people like around me here in America. And also it just makes me very proud to be able to like show off my language and be able to say that I can write in Spanish, I can read Spanish, um and to show that to like my family back in Argentina, and then also to like my friends at school, or whether it be like for a job or anything. So that's my motivation for being able to stay literate.
Yeah, and actually, one of the seal of biliteracy speakers this morning, I mean, he got a full ride to Villanova, and part of the reason is he was bilingual. So, there are definitely benefits. All right. We're coming to the end. I'm just going to ask if you ladies have any final thoughts you would like to share with either young people who are thinking about becoming bilingual or their parents, and things that would encourage them to raise their children as bilingual students or bilingual humans, people.
I would say if you are considering learning a second or third language, it's never too late. And you can start anytime if you have just an inkling of like, thinking about it or just like a inkling of motivation, I would say take it and just build on it and build on it. And start small and then, just keep progressing at your pace. But don't slow down. Once you stop, don't slow down. Just keep keep immersing yourself. Um, yeah, to eventually be, bilingual or as comfortable as you feel, right? As to like grasp the second language. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's great advice that it's never too late to learn a language because I really do think it's so important to be able to know two languages, whether it's Spanish or another language. So to the younger kids, I would say keep working through that, keep trying to learn that language because even if you feel embarrassed at some points, it'll all be worth it in the end. And then to the parents, I would say definitely try to teach that language to the kids when they're younger and let them learn English in school because that's so much easier for younger kids to do to just pick it up as they go to school. But if you wait too long, it'll be a lot harder for the kids to learn whether it be Spanish or another language. And it just opens so many doors and so many opportunities um, for the kids when it comes to like job offers or even as you said in Villanova, he got accepted full ride to Villanova simply because he could speak another language. And I think that's fantastic. And it just connects you with so many more people and it brings you a community. So I just think it's so important to be able to know two languages. So I would say go for it, whether you're a parent or a student, definitely do your best.
Well, thank you, Sanjana.
Yeah, so I agree with both Emily and Jaylene, and it is never too late. Like I know my dad is actually trying to learn Spanish right now by like using Duolingo and that stuff because he like visits Spanish speaking countries a lot for his job, and I actually get to help him a little bit even though I'm not super amazing. And it just shows me that like even though like he's still like kind of older, he um he is trying to learn a new language and that it is truly never too late. Like you can do that whenever. And also like for parents just trying to like decide whether they want to like teach their kids to be bilingual or not, I would say like kids like that are bilingual like can learn empathy because they realize how knowing a language can connect communities and like shapes our culture. Like also at our school we have like a multicultural day, and it is so like inspiring to see how like people that speak like one language, like there's like a Arabic like letter like writing station, and it's like speaking and like reading and writing a language can really just connect different communities.
That is such an amazing point, and I'm so happy that we're finishing on that thought because I actually just read an article that says that bilingual people are more empathetic to other people because they're able to put themselves into another person's shoes. Like just like you said, Jaylene, earlier about being a part of multiple communities. Bilingualism, multilingualism gives us a view of the world that's expansive and opens us up to new experiences and to new thought processes. And you ladies were just amazing today. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and your thoughts with us. I think Aphrodite and myself are going to come away with perspectives that we did not necessarily have to begin with. And I admire you all so much for being here today and for what you've done in your lives and how you share your bilingualism and multilingualism with your families and your communities and the people that you work with. It really makes the world a better place. So thank you all for joining us today. And we hope, that you join us again. I know Emily and Jaylene, your moms are very much involved in NJTESOL and JBE. So please join us for any of our sessions, our advocacy committee, or, any of our committees. We would be happy to have your input for sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
for
much for
having
having
me.
us.
Thank you.